Hopefully everyone can see my screen and hear me. Um, Go ahead and get started here with today's presentation. Maybe. There we go. All right, so let's just get started here. Start with some fun and goodies parts of this. Everyone who sits through today's webinar presentation is getting a free Amazon gift card. In addition to that, we are doing a contest for a $1,000 Amazon gift card at the end of our Nebula campaign here through Spiceworks. Everybody who attends this webinar also gets a free copy of Managed Services in a Month by Karl Pawlicek. For those of you that aren't an MSP, it's a really good book sort of explaining to you why you should get into doing managed services instead of just being a reseller or being a part of the break-fix model. And if you already are an MSP, especially if you've just recently gotten started, it might still be a good read for you just to get some best practices and get a good idea with and understanding of maybe what you could be doing a little bit better or doing a little bit differently that would help your business. And then last, for those of you who join our partner program, or for those of you who are already part of our partner program, you can reach out to your salesperson and get a Nebula demo kit, which includes an access point, a PoE switch, and a security gateway. We're really big believers that our Nebula solution that I'm going to be talking to you today is a good thing for you, and that once you test it and use it, you'll really like it. So we want to get you some hands-on time with it. So we're going to start with just a little brief background on who Zycel is. Zycel's been around making computer networking equipment since 1989, so 29 years right now of making networking equipment, and we'll be coming up on 30 years next year, so that'll be our 30th anniversary. We currently operate in 150 different global markets, and we have over 100 million devices that are deployed in the field. Zycel makes products for 3 different categories. Telco and service provider, this is where we got started back in 1989, and it's still probably where the bulk of our business is done. So this is things like DSL, CPE, routers and modems, IPTV connectivity solutions, and stuff that goes into the carrier side of things, such as a DSLAM or metro area switches. We have our business products, which is probably what most of you guys are interested in learning about, and then we also have a small series of direct consumer products. So one of our big things here is we are really big when it comes to R&D. We are not just a brander who is remarketing or using equipment that's been developed by an ODM. We have our own teams doing both software and hardware engineering. Our main R&D facilities are in Taiwan, which is where we're headquartered. But we also have an R&D facility in Santa Clara, California, and another one in Germany. Globally, we've got over 500 software and hardware engineers. When it comes to tech support, that's being done for all of you out of our U.S. offices here in Anaheim, California. So when you call in to talk to somebody, you are calling into our offices here, and you'll be talking to somebody that's employed and based out of this office. We don't use any third-party call centers. We don't send you overseas. So when it comes to our business products, we've got a very comprehensive portfolio. We've got another webinar that runs an hour that just briefly touches on all the different products that we offer. But the main categories are security appliances, unified threat management, firewall, VPN, switches, wireless networking, gateways, particularly hospitality gateways that do captive portal type stuff, guest interaction, guest protection, tiered billing, things like that, and then network management solutions. We've got a variety of cloud and software-based management solutions for our different products. So we'll move forward here and talk briefly about what is an MSP. It's a rather broad term. And it means different things to different people. I put up there on the screen sort of a generic quote. But basically, from our point of view, a managed service provider is somebody who is trying to, has a relationship with a customer. They get paid on a monthly basis to provide some level of management of what's going on in that customer's location. So generally that includes things like patching computers, monitoring the network to make sure everything's up, keeping firmware up to date. This is very often these days paired with cloud solutions. So a lot of MSPs are also working with a bundled, an offering for a month, part of their monthly fee, voice services, cloud-based PBX, cloud-based software solutions, things like that. So if you're not already an MSP, the question is, why should I become an MSP? And generally, basically, the idea behind it is recurring, predictable revenue. You generally sign a contract with your customer. So every month they are paying you a set amount of money that you're expecting. Sometimes it's done on a quarterly basis, but generally it's done on a monthly basis. It helps move a lot of the costs from capital expenditures to operating expenditures from a budgeting perspective. It helps move the customers away from sort of a break-fix model where you aren't getting paid anything, they're not paying anything unless something breaks, and then generally they're expecting you to jump in there and fix it, to something where you've got predictable revenue, we're getting paid every month, and you're providing some basic services to make sure their network and their computers are maintained and working correctly. And a lot of that is done through automation, so it doesn't require a lot of effort on your part. Increased revenue. Overall, you'll generally get much more revenue as well as it being more predictable. And it gives you a better relationship with your customers. You become a trusted advisor, not just the guy who's a one-time low-price bid and then you're gone until the next time something breaks or needs to be upgraded. Generally, MSPs do a lot better job as far as getting referrals to new business. So to help justify that, we'll talk about some of the trends that are out there. So what we've seen here has been about a 38% growth in just the cloud-managed wireless LAN infrastructure. So Aerohive and Meraki are probably two of the biggest guys who have been driving that from the early days. Infrastructure and platform clouds last year were worth about $32 billion. 60% of enterprises will have at least half of their infrastructure on cloud-based platforms by the end of this year. So a survey was done asking customers, what the top benefits are of moving to the cloud. One of the big things there was being able to get physical security, infrastructure security, making sure everything is patched, everything is up to date, and that the network is constantly being scanned for abnormal behavior. Better encryption, better user privileges, things like that. So what we're offering and what we're here to talk to you guys today about is our Nebula platform. So Nebula is our solution for cloud-managed networking. So some of the benefits for when it comes to cloud-managed networking, lower combined running costs, both as far as the setup goes and then long-term after that. The ability to let you work smarter and faster. With most cloud-managed networking solutions out there, there is little to nothing that really needs to be done on site after the initial hardware installation. You have the flexibility to access and manage those networks, make network changes wherever you happen to be at the time. So if you get a call in the middle of the night or you get an alert from your cloud management platform that something's gone wrong, you can generally fix it and get on top of it from your home, from your hotel, from your vacation, from wherever you happen to be. You've got built-in scalability and redundancy. No longer are you buying various bits of hardware controller, multiple ones in case one fails over, things like that. And you have the ability to add as many, keep adding infrastructure as you need it without needing to update your controllers. And security, everything's patched. In the case of our security, or in case of our cloud-based platform here, everything's hosted in AWS. So it's a great option for you. So we'll take a look here at sort of your typical network hardware install. You obviously have to buy the networking equipment. Depending on the vendor you're using, you also need to get maintenance and support contracts. You've got to go on site, install the hardware, and usually do your configuration located on site. Even some of the cloud solutions that are out there now, you still have to do some configuration to point them towards your cloud. Then you've got to figure out how you're going to monitor the equipment. You've got to figure out how to set up remote access, unless you're going to do everything on site. So that includes, you're going to set up VPN tunnels. Are you going to do port forwarding to each of the devices? How are you going to set that up and keep it secure? Then you need a monitoring platform, whether it's a paid or a freeware solution, SolarWinds or Zabbix. Where are you going to store the logs? So you need to set up some sort of storage solution. Then you've got to stay on top of things, patching things, making sure the configurations are done and are updated correctly. You have your user and device management platform. So by moving that to the cloud, we simplify things quite a bit for you. So you still have to purchase your hardware equipment, but when it comes to doing the installation, basically for most cloud platforms, it's simply plug and play. Plug it in, make sure they've got internet access, nothing else you need to do. You don't need to figure out monitoring. Your cloud platform does the monitoring for you. You don't need remote access. The devices themselves automatically dial out and connect to the cloud. These generally don't require any port forwarding or anything like that. They'll punch through most firewalls and most NATs. And then you've got a unified platform already, so you don't need to go out and hunt down another platform. Data storage is done automatically as part of the cloud. Updates, firmware changes, configuration changes are all pushed out from the cloud automatically. And oftentimes, most of the cloud solutions offer some form of cloud-based user and device management. Oops. So the main takeaway from that is generally the upfront costs are lower, the support times or support costs are lower, and the amount of man hours that it takes to deploy the network is dramatically reduced for you. So it's saving you time and money. So now we'll start talking about Nebula, our cloud managed platform here. So Nebula is designed basically to effectively manage all your customers' networks. And we do that through a complete series of cloud managed access points, switches, and gateways. Setup is super simple for you. Using our Nebula control app, all of our Nebula hardware has a QR code both on the outside of the box and on the physical device itself, making it really easy for you to use our mobile app to scan the devices and assign them to your customer. So by the time they get to the customer location and are plugged in, they're already established on the network as to where they should be, and they'll automatically download their configuration from there. And literally everything is up and running in just a few minutes through our unified control center. And you have access to it from basically anywhere you have access to a web browser and an internet connection. Our Nebula Cloud, rather than trying to build our own cloud or do something using like shards and things like that, is we are using and taking advantage of the robustness of Amazon Web Services. So our Nebula Cloud is hosted and based on AWS platform. We give you a 4 nines uptime SLA. Even if something goes wrong, Amazon has one of the rare crashes or there's something else going on as far as Nebula maintenance, the cloud going down does not affect the performance or functionality of your local network. That continues to function just fine. You just lose the ability to gain remote access or make changes while the cloud is down. But everything will continue running, whether it's for days or for months or whatever it happens to be, whatever the cause is. Maybe your fiber line to your customer's location got caught. It's going to be 2 weeks before they get out there to fix it. It's okay. Everything's going to keep running and working just fine. The only data that is going from the local devices out to the cloud is the management information. The ping saying they're up, what's going on, stuff like that. There is no user information or user data that is being sent out to our cloud. And rather than build something from scratch, we're using the NetConf protocol. So an industry standard NetConf protocol for the security to make sure all of our communications between the local network and the cloud are encrypted, secure, and reliable. So the Nebula solution itself consists of a couple different components. We have the Nebula Control Center, which we normally abbreviate as the NCC. That's the cloud-hosted portion of it, and that's what you access to get to do all of your management and all your configuration changes. We have a series of dedicated Nebula switches, the NSW series, a dedicated series of security gateways, the NSG series, and then our dedicated access points, the NAP series. So all of those devices are what you would use to be able to use Nebula. We also just recently introduced something called Nebula Flex. I'll talk a little bit more about it later, but that allows our NWA 1100 and 1300 series access points to also be managed through the Nebula platform. All management is being done through a single pane of glass. So you simply log into nebula.zycel.com. You will see all of your customers. You will choose your customer, and you're going to then see all of the sites that customer may have, and then you can go into a dashboard to see exactly what's going on. All configuration is done on a site basis. We have the ability with our ProPack to easily be able to clone existing sites or existing organizations to make it really easy to get up and running a new one. So one of the cool things we have here is we have built-in map and floor plan integration. So we integrate using Google Maps, so you can see where all your customers and where their sites are on a Google Maps. You can also use it to drag and drop individual pieces of hardware, although I think for that thing, you're better off using our floor plan ability. Just snap a photo or scan in a floor plan, and then you can position where all of the equipment has been physically installed at. So if for some reason somebody needs to go on site later, they'll be able to easily see where the device is that they need to get access to. We also automatically build the network topology for you, giving you a nice, easy way to view and see what devices are plugged into which additional devices. So just a little easier tool there to help you when you're troubleshooting any network problems you might be running into. Cloud-based updates, things that are going on with the NCC, those get updated about, I believe it's every 2 weeks, although we have the ability, if there's an emergency or security patch, to push those out basically immediately. Firmware updates are automatically applied to all of the Nebula devices. By default, you can go in there and schedule a specific day and time that you want those updates to take place, but you can override that temporarily if you'd like to. If you'd like to upgrade everything, right that minute, if there's something going on that you need, completely flexible as far as that goes. We've also got things set up with role-based administration. So you can set your administrators based on an organization, or I'll call it a customer basis, or for individual sites under each customer. You have the ability to control whether they have full access or read access. So you can make sure your guys who are doing it only have access to the customers or to the sites that they need access to, rather than opening it up to everybody. We have the ability here where we have what's called misconfiguration protection. So we intelligently apply any configuration changes in such a way that nothing gets accidentally disconnected. I know a common problem we run into out in the field with non-cloud stuff is people change their VLANs in the wrong order and suddenly lose management access to certain devices. So things like that don't happen when using the Nebula Cloud. We make sure that changes are applied in the correct order. You as the site owner have the ability to have emailed alerts anytime a configuration is changed. So if you've got it set up and one of your techs decides to make some changes, you'll get notification on that. If you're doing a shared or hybrid solution where they've got a local IT guy that also has access to make changes of certain sites, again, anytime something's changed, you'll be emailed about it. You also have the ability in there to go back through your logging and see going on who made the changes and what those changes were. There we go. And then we've got our Nebula mobile app. So the Nebula mobile app works on iOS or Android. It'll give you basically a brief view of what's going on at each of your customers and each of your sites as far as what's offline and online, but it's primarily designed as a tool to make installation simple for you. So for instance, when we talked about the different role-based administrations, one of those roles is the ability just to be able to install devices, or an installer level. So the installer is able to add devices to a customer location but not change any of the configuration. Basically, you use the app, you scan the QR code on the box or on the bottom of the physical device itself, assign it to the customer. Let's see here, I think I've got another slide that actually shows that. Yeah. So real simple, really easy way to be able to add devices to the customer location, or you can manually type the devices in using a web browser if you don't want to use the mobile app. After you've assigned them to the customer, you can take a photograph of where you installed that device and include that so it shows up in the Nebula Control Center. So again, if somebody needs to go on site to do some maintenance or to replace something that's failed or been unplugged, makes it really easy to find where that device is so they can be in and out real quick. We've also done on our stuff a lot of optimizations designed to make the user experience really good, especially on the wireless side of things. We have dynamic channel selection, so you don't have to do any planning, and that's configurable whether you want it to scan just at boot time, or if you want to set a schedule where it might adjust the channels throughout the day as needed. We've got various load balancing and smart client steering options, making sure the users themselves are always on the best access point and the best SSID for them. If you've already got a network monitoring platform, all of the Nebula hardware also supports SNMP. So you can use SNMP to keep track of what's going on if you don't want to use the Nebula interface as your primary interface, but you want to use what you've already got. We also output syslog, so you can load that into your monitoring platform, syslog analyzer that you've already got. Although if you don't have those, I think the Nebula interface itself probably provides most of the functionality that you're going to need. So I really want to dwell on this. Setup is super, super easy. It's a 3-step process, and you can do these steps in any order you want. Basically, plug in the Nebula device so it's got power and an internet connection. Register the device with the customer site, and then set up your configuration. So you can do these in any order you want. So you can set up and start setting up your network weeks or months before you even receive the hardware. You can scan the devices in before they go out to on-site and then plug them in. Whichever way you want to do it, you can do it. It's just these 3 steps. So I want to talk a little bit about each of the individual components here on the hardware. We'll start with our wireless solutions. All the Nebula access points come with a lifetime warranty. And we've spent a lot of time and a lot of effort designing the hardware both to optimize performance and to optimize longevity. One of the things we've done there, if you're looking at the photo on the far right, is you will see a gray thing there. That's a metal disc that's designed to pull heat from the PCBA and vent it out the back. The leading cause of failure of any sort of solid state component like this is going to be heat fatigue. This helps eliminate that for us. You're also going to see on there capacitors. We only use solid state capacitors. We don't use liquid-based capacitors, so there's no worries about them boiling over or leaking and failing with time. You'll also see we use a lot more shielding than you generally see in our competitors' access points. This is just to give you just that much, little bit better signal-to-noise ratio. And then we've got another shield that goes between the antennas and the PCBA, which acts as a reflector to help give the signal a little bit better boost for some of those weak signals or those edge cases that you run into. So designed to last, warranted to last. On the access point side of things, we have our NAP102. This is your standard 2x2 11AC access point. We have our NAP203. It's a 3x3 11AC access point, and it's got kind of a cool feature called a dual optimized antenna. Most of your access points these days are optimized, the antenna pattern's optimized for them to be mounted on the ceiling, because as I'm sure you know, for lots of different reasons, a lot of times you end up not mounting them on the ceiling but the wall, and with your standard sort of antenna pattern, you end up sending a lot of the signal up into the ceiling or down into the floor where it's absorbed or lost or interferes with what's going on a different floor. So we've got both a physical switch and a software switch you can use to change the configuration between a ceiling mount antenna pattern and a wall mount antenna pattern based on where you've installed it. Our NAP203 adds smart antenna. So a smart antenna solution basically allows the access point to dynamically choose between hundreds of different antenna patterns for each individual client based on where that client is in relation to the access point, but also based on where other sources of RF interference might be. So this is ideal for high density deployments where you've got a lot of users, or for deployments where you've got a lot of other sources of RF interference. So we sell a lot of these for use in conference centers, concert halls, small stadiums, things like that. The NAP 102 and the NAP 203, we've got an outdoor enclosure. It's an affordable outdoor enclosure to convert these to full outdoor, where they can be exposed to the elements, including rain and snow, and continue to perform. If you need something super heavy duty, we've got our NAP 353 over there. It's a full IP66 rated enclosure with a built-in heater. So it can take really extreme temperatures as well as really extreme weather, not just rain, but driving rain, mounting it onto a boat or marina, things like that. Now we'll move on, talk a little bit about our switches. We've got a series of switches here, 8 and 24 port switches. Some with 10 gig uplink ports, some with just standard gig uplink ports, PoE and non-PoE. All of the PoE models feature the PoE Plus or 802.3 AT high power. Waiting for my click here to actually register. There we go. So just showing here, some of the benefits of the cloud managed switch, really efficient networking provisioning, real-time monitoring, as well as historic information as far as throughput, and devices connected onto the individual ports, and the ability to do individual PoE and VLAN type configurations. Configuration is designed to be super simple to let you do the same sort of rules across multiple ports. You just simply checkbox the ports you want to configure, click that you want to configure, and then you'll make your things there as for whether it's VLAN tags, PoE, stuff like that, and then update it. We'll move on here, talk a little bit about our security gateways. So these are our NSG series security gateways. We've got 3 models, an NSG 50, 100, and 200 currently. All of them offer simple, very easy to do site-to-site VPN configuration. All include our ICSA certified firewall. They include 1 year of intrusion detection and prevention and our application control functionality. And of course, basic stuff you're used to, static routing, various firewall rules and stuff. The site-to-site VPN configuration is really easy. You simply log in there, choose whether you want it site-to-site or a hub and spoke model. Choose which peers you want it to connect to and basically hit apply and it's done. In addition to site-to-site VPN, using IPsec, we also support L2TP over IPsec. For those that are looking to connect remote devices such as an iPhone or tablets or things like that. So I was talking about our application control functionality. So what this does is this simplifies the ability for setting up your firewall rules. Instead of needing to know ports or IP addresses or protocols and things like that, we've got a huge list of profiles for different web-based applications. So you simply go in there, add the application, and we've got the ability here to choose by the application. So in this example you see on the screen, we can set up rules to block or allow Facebook itself, to block or allow just Facebook like button access, the ability to allow Facebook access but block the ability to upload media, to share, things like that. So a lot of flexibility. Same goes with a lot of the messaging clients or chat clients out there. We have the ability to say, hey, you can chat, but you can't do video chat, or you can't upload files through the chat software. So it's a real easy way to make it for you to go in there and set up those access rules as you'd like. One of the things missing currently from the NSG series is we don't currently offer content filtering, so web blocking based on individual websites that aren't included as part of our web-based application rules. That will be coming later this summer. For those of you, worried about compliance, whether it's privacy compliance or security compliances, we've got a whole list here of things that we are certified or comply with with Nebula. So it's pretty much covers anything you could think of asking for or wanting to use, HIPAA, PCI, et cetera, et cetera. So I do want to talk about licensing. This is something we do a little bit different than some of the other guys out there that you may be used to working with. To begin with, the basic Nebula functionality is free for the life of the product. So you don't necessarily need to pay an annual license or a thing like that. We do have some additional advanced features that we call our professional pack. Those are available either as an annual license or available as a perpetual license. So what I mean by perpetual is you will pay a one-time fee and say, I want ProPack for X number of access points, X number of switches, X number of security gateways, and then you're done. Professional pack then is good for the life of that site or that customer. So if down the road you decide you want to swap out their 11AC access points, want to swap in 802.11ax access points when those become available, great, you can do that. No additional licenses need to be purchased. It carries over based on the type of the product. If you go, hey, I want to replace these 8-port switches with 24-port switches, or maybe we roll out some 48-port switches, same thing. It's based on the number of devices by class on those perpetual licenses. And then if the perpetual if just going back talking about annual licenses, if an annual license expires, it just drops back to the free version. So you never lose access or the ability to manage your devices or your customers. So we'll go ahead and talk a little bit here about the differences between free Nebula and the professional pack. With free Nebula, unlimited number of devices, unlimited number of customers and sites that you can have. So don't worry about that. All of them do the automatic firmware updates. Both versions are doing, the cloud device configuration, give you access to the Android and iOS apps. Where we start to see some changes here is when it comes to the logging and history. Both get live what's going on your network. The free version only gets you 7 days of historical logs, whereas the professional pack gets you a full year of logging and events. We have the ability to generate reports on a schedule that you choose, and those can be branded with your company's logo. So those are only part of the Pro Pack. You lose out on those with the free version. The next one here, where you see a difference between the two, is when it comes to our cloud authentication database. So if you want to use the cloud authentication database, whether it's for guest access or for users logging in, just in general, that's limited to 100 entries into that database. MAC filtering would be one that's included with that. If you're using 8021x and pointing to your own radius server, then you don't need to worry about it. But if you're using our cloud-hosted database, 100 entries on the free version versus unlimited entries on the professional pack. When it comes to admin accounts that can be assigned for a customer, each customer is limited to 5 admin accounts on the free version, where there's no limit on admin accounts on the professional pack. Some of the other things here, I was talking before about how we've got these audit logs. So anytime someone makes a change, that gets stored. So you can always go back and see who made the configuration change, so you can talk to them, find out why they made that change, or maybe do a training on that. So that's something that's only part of the professional pack. The ability to get email alerts when something goes down or offline, that's only part of the professional pack. The ability to automatically generate the visual topology, that's part of the professional pack. The ability to clone current orgs or current sites to speed up configuration and setup of new accounts, that's also something that's limited to the professional pack. We've also got some more features that we're going to be rolling out later this year that are also limited to the professional pack. But for a lot of people out there, the free Nebula version, just doing cloud-based configuration, basic monitoring and things like that, that's all for free. So a lot of you don't need the professional pack. To give you some ideas on the pricing, I know our competitors out there, our biggest competitor out there generally charges around $150 to $200 a year for an access point license. We're around $30 for an access point license. We're $35 for a switch license, regardless of the size of the switch. So that puts us generally even cheaper than, say, the Ubiquiti's Elite Cloud service. So very, very affordable compared to our competition. So just to clear this up, we have our dedicated Nebula hardware, the NAP series access points, the NSW series switches, the NSG series gateways. When you buy those, they include 1 year of the professional prac right out of the box. So you don't have to buy the hardware and the licenses up front for the basic services there. So those are applied though when you first assign this device to a site. So don't assign it to a test site first and then try to assign it to your customer site, because while the hardware can be transferred from customer to customer, the licenses that you get that are bundled get assigned to the first customer that hardware is assigned to, and these stay with it. We have our NWA 1100 and 1300 series access points. Those are our Nebula Flex access points. Those ones can use the free Nebula service out of the box, but they don't include any of the Pro Pack. So if you want to use those and use the Pro Pack functionality, you do have to buy the licenses. And then later this summer, we'll be coming out with the GS1930 series of switches, which can be used either standalone or through the cloud. So I also want to talk about something we do here, which might be different from some of the other cloud vendors that you may have played with. By default, all Nebula licensing is done with what we call co-termination. Basically, all your licenses expire at the same time, so you don't run into that situation where you add a few devices, 3 or 6 months down the line, and now you've got licenses expiring at different dates through the year. So what we do is we take those licenses, we convert them over to a point system, and then we pool it across all of the devices that are on the network. So we'll say here you start with 10 APs, down the road you decide to add 20 APs to the customer. So now you've got, in some cloud solutions, you'd have licenses expiring in 6 months and those expiring in a year. So we pool those, combine them together, and basically it divides those points up, averaging them so everything is expiring at the same time. You can simply log into Nebula, look at the license management screen. And I am seeing people are sending in some questions. That's great. Send in those questions using the Q&A option. I will answer those questions at the end of the webinar today. So it lets you see what the current status is of your customers' licenses, what date they're set to expire, and then we've got a calculator. So let's say you want all your customers to expire December 31st of the year, or maybe you want them all to expire at the beginning of Q2, whatever it happens to be. You can click that calculator, choose the date you want everything to expire, and it'll tell you how many points you need to buy to make everything expire on that date. So I want to do a little comparison between Nebula, what Nebula offers, and what some of our competition offers. So we're comparing it to everybody out there, Cisco, Meraki, the biggest guys in the room, Aerohive, Ruckus. You'll see Ubiquity on there. Ubiquity, we are comparing against their Elite cloud service. Ubiquity offers basically a hosted version of their Java controller. That's not what we're comparing against here. They also offer something called Unify Elite, which is much more similar to our Nebula system or to Meraki's type management. So that's what we're comparing against on here. So you'll see, for instance, Ubiquity Elite does require some local configuration on the hardware. It's not truly plug and play where us and Cisco and stuff are. You'll see only us and Cisco Meraki offer the ability to do that co-termination where your licenses expire all at the same time. Out of all of our competitions, we're the only ones offering a lifetime license for those advanced features. There's no controller or monthly based subscription that you have to subscribe to, unlike the Unify Elite system. And we include access points, switches, and gateways, where a lot of our competition is just access points or just access points and switches. Should the licenses expire, ours drops back to that free version, so you don't get locked out of the ability to manage or monitor your customers just because the licenses have expired. So we don't hold your network hostage to whatever the license and renewal fees may be at that time. We have that ability to do the network topology view, that ability to do change logs and notifications. That's something that us and Meraki offer. Cloud-based authentication, something we offer. The IDP ability and the ability to configure firewall rules based on application. That's something only us and Meraki offer. The ability to map and photograph where devices are, again, it's something only us and Meraki are offering. And in general, it's pretty much us and Meraki when it comes to the full 1 year of events logs and data retention. So I think you'll see this is a very, very capable, very, very comparable solution out there at drastically reduced prices. From the access point side of things, you can buy our NWA1123 ACV2. That'll run you $100. The Nebula NAP 102, that'll run you, I think, $130 these days. So $130 including 1 year of the Pro Pack for an 11 AC access point. I mean, it's a fantastic deal. So we'd like you to become our partner. This is something that you can do. It costs you nothing to join our partner program, and there's some great benefits I want to talk about here for you. So general partner stuff that you get here from us is we have monthly webinars, we introduce new products. If there's certain requests for technical type webinars, we can set those up for you. If there's specific something you need just for you and your employees, we can set those up for you. It gives you access to our advanced replacement system. It gets you priority access to our phone support as well as after hours access or 24-hour access to our partners. Gets you the ability to do bid support. So you can do deal registration, lock in the price for you and get exclusive pricing on that. Various other resources that we make available to our partners. Probably one of the biggest benefits of joining our partner program is you get automatic discounts through distribution. So we sell our product through D&H, Ingram Micro, Synex, and Wave. So when you join our partner program, we've got 3 different tiers. Anybody joining our presentation from new, it looks like we forgot to swap out the stock photo with the licensed version. Whoops. We'll get that fixed for next time. But anyway, anyone who's joining new based on this webinar or this campaign that we're doing will start at the silver level. That gets you an automatic 18% discount off of the normal distribution pricing that you would normally receive. In order to stay at the silver level, we'll stick you in there for 6 months. At the end of 6 months, you need to have done at least $6,000 worth of business, which probably shouldn't be too much. And that'll keep you in the silver level. To go up to our gold tier, that's $12,000 in a 6-month period, so $6,000 per quarter. Might be another way to think about it. And that bumps you up to a 20% discount through distribution. It lets you join into our lead referral program, gets you priority access to our sales engineer, and our advanced replacement like I was talking about before. We also work with Leaf Financial. So Leaf is someone we've been working with. Obviously, if you have your own financing, great. But they're ones who we've been working with, and really we know how to work with them, and it makes it a lot smoother process for you. So it makes it so you don't have to necessarily pony up the cash for the hardware up front when you're doing the installation. If you'd like to get to a leasing type situation when it comes to the hardware, that's something else Leaf offers. They let you fully basically dump that off to them. So the customer thinks they're leasing from you, but actually it's a Leaf who is handling the leasing. Leaf handles the payment enforcement, getting the units returned, things like that. So it allows you to offer a lease solution without having to go through all the hassles of trying to manage a lease program. So for those of you that aren't already a partner and want to join, again, it's free. It's pretty simple to do. You go to our website, Zicel.com. You click on Partners up in the top right, and then you choose the Channel Partner Program from the drop-down. On the Channel Partner page itself, you click on Become a Partner. And this is where people tend to get lost a little bit. It's in the middle of the page there where the button is to become a partner. So you click on that. It's a very simple form to fill out. Just takes a couple of minutes. We'll review it. Takes about 2 business days for us to approve you. And I'm not done yet. I've got something great here, another great offer for you. Give me just another second here. So one of the big things here is I really feel if you get the chance to use Nebula, you will like it, you will enjoy it, and you will see it as part of something that you can do. So one thing we've got here for you is if you just go to nebula.zicel.com, we do have a live demo It's recently been updated here, so you'll get full access to all the configuration interface. This is based on 3 demo hotel sites that we've got up and running in various places. So you simply go to nebula.zycel.com, click the live demo button, and log in with those credentials you'll see on the screen. And you'll be able to fully see what you'll get with Nebula, whether it's access points, switches, or the security gateways. But more importantly, we'd like to get you some hardware in your hand. So as long as you join our partner program, talk to your sales rep, we'll send you out a 60-day demo kit. So that's going to include 1 access point, 1 PoE switch, and 1 gateway for you to set up and for you to play with yourself. So just one more reason to join our partner program if you're not already. If you're already a partner, great. You also get access to this. Just reach out to David or Sandy or whoever is assigned as your salesperson, and they'll help qualify that and get that for you. So that's going to conclude the webinar for today as far as the slides go. So at this point, I'll go ahead and start taking questions. Just use, again, the Zoom Q&A box. And I will go through those and try to answer them as best I can. So David Gould is asking a question here. Can all Nebula access points operate in all modes? AP, client WDS, and bridge? Is DCS suggested in WDS mode if available? So right now, currently, Nebula access points cannot operate in bridge or WDS mode. They do require a physical Ethernet connection. That is something that will probably change in the future, but at the moment, if you need to do WDS, you do need to use our non-Nebula hardware. We have some customers right now, basically they're using Nebula for most of the network. And then since the bridge devices, generally just acting as a bridge, they'll throw in a couple of our non-Nebula ones, or they'll use the Nebula Flex models and just not put them in Nebula mode, and use those to make the bridge as a physical bridge between, say, buildings or sites or something like that. So the whole network is Nebula managed except for the bridge units. Is there a UTM device available with Nebula support? So at the moment, the NSG gateways provide intrusion detection and prevention and the application patrol functionality. We will be adding content filtering with our next update, which is scheduled for, I think, end of June or end of July this summer. That'll get content filtering. And then I know we've got some other enhancements for the fall, including, I think, don't quote me on this, but I think we're going to roll out some SD-WAN functionality as well towards the fall. Another question here we've got from Andrew is asking about 4G failover. So the answer to that is no. We don't currently support any US compatible 3G or 4G USB dongles. So if you need 4G failover, we suggest using I'm going to call it a Cradlepoint type device. Doesn't necessarily need to be Cradlepoint. Those can be expensive. There are some affordable ones out there right now that you can buy for pretty cheap, and those will just plug into one of the secondary or tertiary WAN ports, and then you set that to fail over to that. Any plans for a USG XXX upgrade? It's from Volker. So there's nothing we've announced yet, but yes, we are continuing to expand the USG line as far as different size devices going forward. So Kevin saying he became a partner a while ago, but doesn't have the demo equipment. So for that, reach out to your salesperson, David or Sandra. I know there is some basic qualification that you have to qualify for. But those are who you talk to. They'll arrange and get that set up for you. We just started offering this demo kit, I think, 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago. So this is a new program that we weren't previously offering. So they can help you out with that. If you need some non-Nebula equipment, we've got an NFR program and some other programs available for those. Kevin, sorry, I apologize for mispronouncing that, talking about Cinex Canada. Yeah, we don't have a big presence in Canada. Both D&H and Cinex, I would say generally D&H is the one who works better for us as being able to bring the hardware in. because they can easily get the hardware in from their US-based warehouses. So I would try to hit that up. Again, reach out to your salesperson here if you're not getting response from D&H, and we can have our distribution manager here give them a little kick in the seat of the pants if we need to get them to be more responsive for you. They generally also are more affordable than Cenex Canada, but same thing. If you need to use Cenex Canada for whatever reason, and you're not getting the support you need, let your salesperson know here so we can get our distribution person involved and get that worked out for you. So Steve is asking roughly how often are firmware updates released? Firmware updates are released as needed. We try to release those on a quarterly basis as needed. However, if there's major new firmware or functionality we want to roll out, then we may push out the firmware update sooner than that. Same thing if there's a major security update that we find out about that needs to be done, we will release those sooner. But generally, we try to stick to no more than one firmware update per quarter if we can avoid it. Go ahead, guys, if there's any more questions, send them in through the Q&A window. I'll also take a look at chat. It looks like maybe a couple of you set some questions in via chat instead of Q&A. Samuel was asking, do we have any combination router and AP devices? At the moment, no. We do not have any Nebula equipment that is both a router and an access point. We have similar type devices like that on our USG series, but those are not Nebula managed, but we do have some cloud management options on those. So if you really need, like, let's say, a series of, you're doing got a customer that's got a lot of small sites or a lot of remote users where you want a single device in each home, the USG series would probably be the better bet for that. Sam was asking on the pricing. Yeah, the pricing I was talking about earlier, $30 per access point, $35 per switch, and I think it's $50 per security gateway. Those are the annual Pro Pack licenses. We got a few more questions that have come in. Richard, what happens after the 60-day demo? Yeah, you'll be given the option to either purchase it as part of an NFR, or we'll have you ship it back to us. And our sales guys have some flexibility on that. So, if you need a little bit more time, we can probably work something out. Or if you're working on a deal or a bid or something like that, we can probably work with you to extend it if we need to. Oh, good. Steve here is asking about hotspot options. Yes. So, hotspot options. We've got lots and lots and lots of them for you. So we've got different ways of doing this. We've got a captive portal and walled garden, so those are there for you. When it comes to the captive portal, when it comes to that, there's a lot of different ways that can work. We can set it up to use Facebook authentication. So that's one option. If you want them to log in with their Facebook credentials, you can tie into the Facebook API, so you can use that to get some sort of demographic information and other information out of them. We've got your basic, I agree to the terms of service login, so you can set that up. When it comes to the default login page, that is customizable. We've got a very basic WYSIWYG interface where you can change things and add your logo, or alternately, you can download the HTML and CSS files if you want to get really fancy with your customization and then re-upload those back to the cloud. Or if you want to host them on your own server, we can redirect and point to your own server for doing the authentication, and we'll give you the code you need to integrate into your page to be able to interface with Nebula. So that way you can use a Radius type interface to do it. Also, with the built-in login ability, we've got the ability for you to generate usernames and passwords to give out to the guests. And in fact, one of our admin levels is, I think we call it guest ambassador. So you can give that to your customers, front desk area, and that person then can log in with those credentials just to be able to generate unique usernames and passwords for guests. We can also set it up so guests have to create their own username and password and register. so you can gather their email information before granting guest access. So a lot of flexibility there, as well as the ability to redirect to a specific page after they log in if you'd like to do that as well. So yeah, lots of different options there. So it'll work whether you're trying to offer guest access at a small office for people visiting, or whether you're trying to offer guest access to like a hotel type situation. Let's see what else we got here. Credit card payments for the hotspot. Currently, the Nebula does not do credit card payments. If you want that type of hotspot solution, we offer that in our USG series gateways and also our UAG. So USG is our normal firewall products. They have the ability to add hotspot functionality to it. And then we've also got a series of products called UAG, which are specialty built just for doing hospitality type situations. So those would probably be better fit at this time. Again, I know there are some enhancements coming to the Nebula. I don't know if credit card billing is on the roadmap or not. I think that's the first time somebody's asked for that in Nebula. Volker's asking about the pricing for the subscriptions. And you know what, for the IDP and stuff like that, I don't know what the current price is. Let me see if I can yell at somebody here. Give me just a sec. Okay, so for the IDP and the application patrol, that's going to run you $50 to $100 per year based on the model. And then when we roll out additional functionality as far as UTM goes, we'll update the pricing then. I do not have the pricing yet since we haven't rolled that out yet. Steve with another question here. Does the Nebula system handle the roam handoff for clients between APs, or is it left to the client devices? That is a good question. The answer is, yeah, we can work with that. Basically, we have the ability on there to bump clients based on signal threshold. So if we say the signal gets below a certain threshold point, we can bump them off and sort of force them to do the roam then. We also do, band steering on that. And we've got some, intelligence as part of our algorithm there to make sure, if the guy is roaming too far and the signal gets weak, but he's not getting closer to another access point, that we don't just keep bumping him off. So we've got that functionality. We've also got for school systems and things like that, we've got various different load balancing algorithms that you can choose from. We've got one that's specifically designed for schools where you'll have, a class of 40 people booting up their iPads or booting up their Chromebooks all at the same time. And then 802.11, our functionality is, I believe, coming this fall. So I hope that answers the questions. Again, if there's any more questions, go ahead and send them into Q&A. If not, for those that turned out, again, thank you for sitting down, listening to us, learning about our products here. I really highly suggest here you take advantage of either the live demo or getting your hands on some of the equipment and trying it out. I think you'll be very happy with it. And just in general, if there's some sort of functionality that's missing there that you need or something you don't like about it, let us know. You can let me know personally. You'll see me on Spiceworks. You can message me on there. You can email me, Sean R, SHAWNR at Zicel.com. Or from the Nebula interface, you can go over to our forum and post your feedback and thoughts there. Andrew is asking about SIPA filtering. That'll be part of our content filtering update that comes out a little bit later this summer. It's just a couple months out. Not currently, no. Not with the Nebula hardware. We do have other solutions that you can use that do that aren't Nebula-based. So David is asking, is an NXC device recommended or needed with Nebula devices? So no, Nebula devices are Nebula devices. The only way you can manage those is through the cloud. In fact, that's probably the number one support issue we run into with Nebula for those who aren't used to using a cloud-managed networking equipment is they try to log in directly into the equipment and either can't figure out how to do it or realize that once they get in there that there's nothing they can really see or do. So Nebula equipment is all managed entirely through the cloud. You just go to nebula.zycel.com, log in there, and that's where you do all of your configuration and setup. The only thing that you can change and the only reason you would need to log into the Nebula device is if you're on a network that requires static IP configuration. That would be the only time you would need to do any local configuration, or as part of troubleshooting to log in and just verify that the device is connecting to the cloud if for some reason it's not showing up there. The NXC devices are designed to manage our 5,000 and 6,000 series access points. Those are your more traditional controller-based access points that we offer. So those cannot be managed through Nebula. So if you want to do Nebula, you just buy the Nebula access points, the NAP series, or you buy the NWA 1100 and 1300 series access points and manage them, choose to manage them through the cloud rather than a standalone. Samuel again's got another question. You should have got an email for us. There is a very good chance that those are going into your spam folder if you're not seeing them. You can fill out the form again, or I believe you can just email sales@zycel.com and say you're not getting the partner program stuff. Although honestly, it seems like there's some sort of email communication. I would just call in. Call into our 800 number, 800-255-4101. Choose the option to speak to somebody in sales, and they can get that worked out for you. They can look up your application, see what happened to it, let you know what you need to use to log in if for some reason those emails got lost or shuffled away by spam somewhere. Okay, guys, I think we are done. So any other questions, hit me up on Spiceworks. You can just search for Zycel or search for Sean Rogers on there and private message me there. Post in our little forum there. Anything else that's not covered here, or just email me directly, shawnr@zycel.com. And again, thank you for turning out for those of you guys that are still with us. And I highly suggest sign up for our partner program and take advantage of the demo. Or just log in and try our live demo. But I'd really rather you get the equipment in hand and try it out yourself in person. And again, we're looking for any feedback you can give us. So if there's anything there feature-wise that's missing that you would need, anything feature-wise that you think is implemented poorly, you'd like to see implemented different, any other feedback on the performance of the units, we want to hear it from you. We are constantly improving the Nebula experience. And this information helps us do that, as well as helps us with the hardware offerings, helps us prioritize which hardware should be coming out next. Okay, Richard, I see your message on there. I will pass that through. If you want to hit me up with chat, let me know when this was when you first signed up. So we can look into it. Or actually, I guess I've got your name. We can probably look it up just based off of your name. So we'll do that. It may be there was a problem with our online system. I know we transitioned from one system to another system. So that might have been when that took place. I don't know. But yeah, definitely. And if you have any problems signing up for the partner program or you're not seeing a response, please just call in 800-255-4101 and choose the sales option so you can talk to somebody here. We'll get that straightened out for you.